Kiki. Okay, your real name's Kiana, but thank you for coming on my show, honey. Oh my God, you're the first one who's ever blown bubbles on my show.
I almost caught you there, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. I was like, when you said you were going to bring bubbles, I was like, oh, that's really funny. And you did. I love it. You know what I love about you bringing bubbles is because it kind of goes hand in hand with what we're going to be talking about today. A lot of things, but we met in college, UCLA in our master's program. But let's just segue. I want to just branch off for a minute. Therapists, people in the healthcare profession, we have this image that they're like always serious and they don't have fun. They don't blow bubbles. They don't do the Kiki snap to music. You're like, no.
No.
Nails done pink. Show us, girl. For those listening and can't see, Kiki has gorgeous long pink nails. And yes, she's a grief therapist, a social worker. She works with people, who are really having troubles, and she has pink nails.
Mm-hmm. And every time, the clients recognize or notice my nails, they go, oh, that's different. And I go, I'm a Barbie girl. Anyway.
Okay, as you can tell, if this airs, the Barbie movie's probably already been out. Kiki and everyone else, including my producer, DJ, who's now got, I guess, white Gosling hair. I don't even know who that, hair. Everyone's going Barbie crazy. But listen, Kiki, I love you. You are a huge part of why Down with Dedee is up and running, because how many times, when I told you this idea, it started with a talk show called Dedee and Friends, which I wanted to do one day. And I was told straight up that talk shows were old school and people are now doing podcasts. And, well, I was stubborn. I was like, I'm still going to do my talk show. I don't care. Well, luckily, I calmed down and got my ego out of the scenario and thought, hey, if you want to help people, go to the venue in which they're telling you that people will come. Don't be, the ego is just no place here. So I thought, okay, I'll start with the podcast. And it turned out to be really fun. I'm just making the podcast whatever the hell it wants to be, right?
Yeah.
How many times did you ask me, Dedee, what's going on with your podcast? Pretty much every time I got you on the phone.
Just maybe one or two times.
No, like 200. And I got to tell you that but it made a difference. I was dragging my feet because I was scared. Fear of failure.
Yeah.
Fear of, as we're doing this is not launched yet. I still don't know whether or not the podcast is going to be successful or not, but I had to remind myself, is it about numbers or is it about helping one person?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And help one person, and you can help me help one person, then it will be a success.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, let's talk self-care. I know, right?
Well, I did get a facial yesterday too, so I don't know if that's where the glow is coming from. I don't know.
Very glowy. You got pink nails, very glowy. Well, you and I did what one would call self-care on steroids. When we met the first year at UCLA, our master's program, we met. And it was tough. It was tough for a lot of reasons, just because by design, master's programs are challenging and grueling, just, to see if you got the chops, right?
Right.
We went into it, but we went into it differently because we went into some pre-existing stuff that was going on that we didn't realize were going to eventually kneecap us if we didn't take care of it. So you took off halfway through our first year. You disappeared. I kind of never understood where you went, but you disappeared, and and we were like, oh my God, Kiki left. She left. They said, yeah, she's taking healthcare time or whatever. I was like, So I finished that grueling first year. Then the second year I had to take off because I had to get my ass over. That was the year you came back and started your first year over again. We somehow reunited our last year at UCLA. So we started together and we end together. And we both took a year off.
Yeah.
Right?
Isn't that wild?
That is crazy to me, because you were so the reason why I got through that last year. I went in sober. I wasn't Was I smoking? Was I smoking?
No, you had just started those patches and you hated those things.
Yep. I was not drinking, not smoking. And I went back to, at this point, my 10th year of college, so sober, and it was a rough year.
Yeah.
And you helped me through that, and I'll never be able to thank you for that. And
you got me through that year. It was a challenging year. I went into this this graduate program of my dreams going, oh my God, this is it, right? And it was it, and it wasn't, because, you know, like you said, I specialize in grief. I work with grief, you know, now, like every day, day in and day out. Way back when, I didn't recognize within myself that there was that what I was experiencing physically were, you know, symptoms that had manifested, symptoms of grief that had manifested, you know, physically in me. And it was like all the grief that I had to address. So, you know, long story short, my mom dies when I was 15. So she died of breast cancer within 4 months of diagnosis. So, you know, like first year of high school, bam, she's gone. And then it's like, you know, it's like you put me on steroids, like Kiki, like that, you know, the Roadrunner bunny.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was me. That was me going 100 miles an hour, just go, 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 go. So I got through, you know, so much schooling so quickly, and everyone around me was like, oh my God, Kiana's doing amazing. Look at that. She is so successful. She's this and she's that. And she was running away, right? She was running away from all that pain and all that grief and, you know, and life, really, reality. So then when, you know, we started our graduate program, that's when, you know, the Roadrunner bunny, or whatever you want to call it, hit a huge bump in the road. I remember, you know, going into one of our practicum trainings, and where it addressed childhood grief and working with children that were grieving. And I ended up calling my supervisor and I said, I'm not coming in. And she goes, oh, okay, do you need a day? And I said, yeah, I think so. And, you know, I took that day, rest of that day off, and I couldn't really go back. You know how you can't unsee what you've already seen?
Yeah.
A lot like with this pandemic, like a lot of what we're now living, like we've already seen so much, we can't unsee it anymore. It's already had that effect on us. That was me. What I had, you know, what that training had ignited in me, I couldn't turn off anymore.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And then it was like, okay, well, shoot, I'm in a really challenging, grueling master's program. I'm supposed to be the expert, like, you know, expert in training here, right? What in the world? And I sought out, you know, a few support from my mentors, and they said, okay, well, it's time for a medical leave. Did not want to do that. Like, you got to be like that.
Yeah. I remember you talking to Sarah, Na, and I think Rebecca was there too. And you were like, I'm going, I'm leaving, I'm taking the time. And I was thinking, what, could she even do that? Like, that, you know, and it was.
And I didn't know. And I didn't know. Because you know, the school was is a quarter system, right? So we started winter quartered, completed it. You know, and then it was winter break when we came back, or sorry, fall. Excuse me. Ooh, fall. Then I went through half of winter quarter, and then I realized, ooh, no. Like, we're not getting much further, right? And then so I took, you know, incompletes for winter quarter, left spring quarter, took that summer, and then I had either the option to come back during the fall or not, and then wait until that next winter quarter. And I said, no, I want to come back in the fall. And they said, Kiana, are you sure? Are you ready? And I'm like, I'm ready. I'm good. And then I came back and, you know, did all these classes and got to reunite with the first year cohort and meet, you know, the incoming cohort as well. And so, yeah.
You know, it's interesting because even though our stories are different, they're similar. You know, we both hit these roadblocks in a master's program that took us how many years to get into? I mean, you know, for me anyways, it was 10 years to finally get into UCLA master's program, 2-year program, which ended up taking me 3 years because I had to take that year off in between. Looking back, you and I just talked about it the other day. Had you not taken that first year off, and had I not taken that second year off, to take that pause, to really go in and really deal with our shit, I don't think we'd be sitting here talking to each other right now, for sure. I don't know where we would be, but we wouldn't be this far along in our journey, in our recovery. My recovery is addiction, of course. Yours is different when it comes to mental health and grief and what have you. But it doesn't matter what the title is. The bottom line is we were not 100% or even near 80%. And when you decide to go help others, you got to put that oxygen mask on yourself first. And I never understood that. I thought, no, I'd be putting that mask on my children and all the elderly people on the plane and the animals before me. I mean, I'd go put it on the pilot so he could fly the plane, and someone I got my ass checked in rehab. They said, no, that's not what you do with the oxygen mask, Dedee. You're no good to anybody on that plane.
Mm-hmm.
Yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn it the hard way, but having gone through it, I think that we're here to tell other people. I don't care how many years it took you to get that master program or how long it took you to get to that CEO position of or whatever, right? Or, oh my God, you've been waiting forever to do this, that, or this or that. If you don't take that time.
Yeah. And at the time, I thought, this leave was like, the universe being against me. Like, this is the worst thing that could ever happened to me. What do you mean? I'm at this #1 institution in the world doing, fulfilling my dreams. What do you mean take time off to? No. And, when I did that, it was like, oh my gosh, now I recognize that like you said, I really would not be who I am today had I not taken that time off.
Well, the difference, I believe, when I first met you now is night and day, #1. #2, when I met you for my second round in the last year, I had to go to a cohort. I knew nobody because my cohort had already graduated. The year I took off, they graduated. Right. So I said, wow, this is beautiful. It's part of my recovery that Mother Earth left Kiki behind. And yet but not behind because you came back better than before, having taken that time. And you represented to me that I wasn't alone. And that's what we need as mankind, is support to make sure we don't feel alone in our journeys. So, yeah. Right? I think I can't stress enough how it's so important to find support wherever that might look like. Yeah. And yes, we do have social media and we have all this internet stuff, and use it for a good cause. Google, I need help, or whatever, right? Or ask friends, you can do these things anonymous, you and I did our capstone on grief.
We did our capstone on childhood grief. That's right.
Did. And we discovered that it's very understudied, very overlooked. Grief is often just like thrown in as, oh, everybody experiences, doesn't need to be pathologized, which I agree to a point. I do believe it doesn't, but there is complicated grief. There's other elements of grief that really can cripple somebody right there hand in hand, I would say, with, say, an addiction or a mental health issue, right?
Yeah. And, with complicated grief, I'll just throw in there that it's just grief that's been swept under the rug for way too long. And now you're recognizing and seeing all these, symptoms and implications of it, like everywhere else you look, and not like connect the dots of, oh, this is grief, because it's just been swept and swept and swept.
That's interesting because, remember that one thing that we wrote in our paper, our capstone, by the way, for people capstone is the big project to actually get your ass graduated to get the master's. So it's a big project, and it almost gave me a nervous breakdown, but moving on. So, but Kiki and I drank a lot of Coca-Cola, pizza, jalapeno kettle chips. And we would spend hours and hours just laughing and crying and laughing and crying. And you heard a lot of, God damn it, Dedee, a lot of those. But we got through it. And I look back and I think, whoa, and I didn't relapse, and nor did you cave through the cracks. But one of the things I'm left with our paper, out of all those hours, one thing that stuck: grief is just love with nowhere to go. Mm-hmm. My God, I love that. Yeah. And it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's up to us to give it that place and give it that meaning, that we want to.
Yeah, because there's also, we talked about before, like, there's these stories of these like women, men, or theys or whatever, who lose a loved one or a family member and they don't really have much of a reaction. And then like a year later, their dog dies and they lose their shit. And they're like, wow, you know, they cry over the dog, but not even their brother or their mom or their dad. And it's like, hold that door, pull that car over. First of all, Mr. and Ms. Judgy, how can you judge someone's process of grieving? You know, I often hear this also in like my detective things I watch. They're like, well, when I investigated the guy, he didn't even cry when we told him that his wife was found in a suitcase off the 405 freeway and not alive, I might add, you know, but he didn't cry a tear. I want to say, dude, have you taken a psych class? You know, first of all, who these people doing the investigations?
Yeah.
Do they know the basics of mankind and humanity and dispositions and, you know, cultures too? There are cultures where you don't show emotion, right? And then there's Italians. My friend is Carla Italian. She cries all the time. She screams all the time. She's always raising her hand. She's, you know, bawling on the, you know, on the flip of a dime. Flip of a dime. Okay, that's right. But you know, she seems like she's not guilty all the time. If you're going to use that, as right, and she was crying and yelling and screaming. Oh my God, my husband was found in a suitcase. Well, she couldn't have done it, right? That's no indicator of anything, right? So
Yeah.
I think one thing I'd like to add to, you're the one that grief specialist, but that when somebody is grieving, it's a very private journey and there's a lot of factors that go into it, right? On how they grieve.
It's incredibly individualized. There isn't a specific like chemistry formula to crack. There isn't a specific code to write, you know, for all our left brain folks out there. You know, it's going to look different. You know, each of us have different hair texture, and that's how our grief reactions are going to look like. And so I know
Addiction and addicts.
Yeah.
We're not all from the same cookie cutter, you know, and some have a trauma, some don't. Some have it in their DNA, some don't. Some literally have an allergic reaction, some don't, you know. And so to go into the assessment, you know, which, by the way, can we back up? How much education did we get in our 10 years, not just UCLA, CSUN, Pierce, or even in grade school on addiction? How much education did we get on that?
I took one class at UCLA that I remember.
Same thing with grief, which is really interesting, right? Because again, not to pathologize everything, meaning like grief doesn't always have to be pathologized, but it certainly can be teased out from all the other elements of depression, anxiety, right? Trauma and all that.
So yeah.
And it can be treated within itself. Like you said, find a place for that love to go. And with addiction, it's the same thing. Find your journey, your path to recovery. I don't know what that looks like for you. Not everybody's into the 12 steps. Not everybody's into that at all. You know, they're going to find some other way to do it. And I say, hey man, as long as you get there, I'm there waiting for you. It's all good, right? Kiki, can I ask you a personal question?
Go for it.
Paranormal, yes or no, and why?
Oh my God, I knew it. God damn it, Dedee. Ask me about my exes. No, I'm kidding. Don't ask me about my exes either. Kidding.
Exes, you only have like one. I have like three. I married. Hold on. I have 3 divorces. I've dated.
No, let's go back to the paranormal.
So what do you think? You know, I talk about this all the time. You are my best friend. So come on, talk. Let's go.
I can't say yes or no. It's like an in between. I can't say there is nothing out there, but I can't say yes for certain either, if that makes any sense.
Yes. So here's my other question. Since you've met me and hung out with me before, what would you say your beliefs on things that are the unknown versus now having met me? Do you think that I've made an influence on you, or you're just, no, this is how I've always felt, Dedee, you're not that important in my life?
Oh my God, you're incredibly important in my life. That's that. You're like literally one of the first people I go to when I'm stuck. Call Dedee. You know, I think if anything, it has just validated my beliefs even more, that there's something out there. We just, you know, yeah.
I think that, you know, we call them schemas, right? We learned that in psych class. For those who don't know what that means, basically they're categories in which we create in our memory banks for
Mhm.
things to make sense of things, right? So the paranormal and things that aren't explained are this whole area that the only room we have in our brain's memory schemas for that would be the mysterious, the mystique, the mystic, the boogeyman. Movies telling us that it's scary, a government telling us it's scary, everyone's saying that it's scary. My question is, why do we go to the fear card? What's that about?
Is that a question for me?
No, it's for the guy behind you. Do you have a guy in your condo there?
No.
I see him.
You know, the way you just responded to that was so fucking Persian. Okay.
You called me Persian a few times. I love it.
Called you Persian a few times, and it was just that was just one of those moments, man. God damn it, Dedee. Repeat the question because I just
I don't remember what I asked you. Oh, fear.
here.
Some reason. Well, I think I know the reason, but I'm curious what you think. As to why is the fear card used almost always when it comes to anything that's out of our realm of understanding? Like, why is it a scary thing that we have neighbors upstairs or in the bottom of this feed or in some other parallel universe? Why is all that scary?
I don't know. I think the fear card is always thrown in there as a preventative technique of, oh, we don't know what's out there, so we better not go explore, right? It can be dangerous. It could be this, it could be that, to prevent.
Let's back up. That's an interesting point. There's something unknown out there, so let's not go there. Let's, right? Why has mankind, at least up until recently, been, well, actually, if you go way back, that was not the philosophy, it was the other. This is why if you look at everything on caves and all this other stuff that has been written in history, they're very interested in the mystical. They're very interested in all of that stuff. All of a sudden, this weird generation, like you said, where we're like, oh no, we're not going to be going there now. Let's not go to the crazy train. That to me feels like it's by design. Why would you not want to be curious about where in the hell we started, where we came from? Maybe there's another thing that we don't know about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Now you really got me thinking. My honest answer right now is that, but my guess is it's a way to prevent and to control,
It is about control. It's got to be about control. What else would it be about, right?
and it's, concept of like survival of the fittest. Like if we're the best and the greatest, then there can't be anything out there that's better than us, right? Or different than us. Then we're it. We're the shit.
And she waves her pink nails at me. That's what it is, I think, and that's where I don't think that's where we went awry, but that certainly doesn't help. That whole like we are all that in a bag of chips, and anything else needs to be conquered and suppressed and get rid of.
Exactly.
That is why I'm not of that belief. I'm of the opposite. We need to come together, right?
Yeah.
Animals, Mother Earth, and anybody, any upstairs neighbors or downstairs in the sea, wherever they may be, let's all get it together, man. We're so much more powerful together than that other like seek, conquer, and take out, right?
Yeah. Exactly. I believe that too. If we were to all come together for, humankind and Mother Earth, like you said, everything that exhibits or not exhibits, inhibits. There was my ESL student part of me right there. Anything that inhibits Mother Earth,
ELF, what does that mean?
ESL, English for, English as a second language. There we go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew that. I went to UCLA. I know that. Still can't spell. I don't care how many degrees you give me. I will never be able to spell.
Goodness for Grammarly. For me, it's not the spelling, it's the grammar, because my thought process is in Farsi. And the way that you structure Farsi sentences is different, right? So it's like I'm constantly wiring and rewiring my brain. And this is where Grammarly, which they're not paying me to advertise, but Grammarly helps.
It got me through all of my classes from Valley and Pierce to UCLA. Grammarly was my friend. Remember you say, hey, will you read my paper? What was my first thing I said? Did you run for Grammarly? No. I said,
Grammarly.
all I'm gonna do is catch typos and run on sentences. Let Grammarly do that. I just want to know what you're saying, how you're saying it, how you're presenting it. Are you backing up with proof? Blah blah. Oh God, I think I just went back to college. Ew. Kiki, what animal do you want to be reincarnated as and why?
That one's easy. Okay, I like that one. That one's easy. I like easy questions, Dedee. My brain hurts from all the research. A butterfly. A butterfly. And the reason why is I have a tattoo on my ankle that represents the butterfly, and it has a pink ribbon on it, symbolizing my mom's death. But it was really my mom's death, with all that pain and all that sorrow and all that grief, that really transformed my life, and made me do a couple 360s. And I now think of the butterfly every time I see a butterfly around. I'm like, sometimes I go, oh, the butterfly. Sometimes I go, fuck you, mom. It really just depends on the day.
Processing, constantly. And any given butterfly that goes by is going to get love or shit. I get it.
Yeah. A little bit of both, maybe sometimes. It just depends on the day, the context of the day, really.
I did not know this about you. It's so funny that, we've been friends for so many years and I feel like I know everything about you. And I did not know this I know you have a butterfly, your tattoo. I saw it when you first got it and I was like, what the hell is she doing with a butterfly? I did not know what it meant. I think you told me. I was too busy trying to write a research paper or something. But I think that's beautiful. I think that's absolutely beautiful. Do you think your mom might be flying around you with a butterfly, or are you just not going to go there with me? You're not going to.
No. Of course, I'm going to go there with you. No. It really depends, and this is where I said, oh, look, there goes that butterfly, and then there are days where I go, fuck you, mom. It really does depend. Like, the butterfly does remind me of her, and again, I do think that she's around. Oh my gosh, I've had days where, I don't know, either my car is acting up, my car is, bougie, just like my nose. And so it decides to do, a number of tricks on me, and I go, oh, that has to be my mother, either trying to tell me something or like telling me to slow down or whatever that. So she's there,
Yeah.
I don't know how she would be feeling about me, right? I think for majority of the time she would be proud, but I'm sure, I have done, stuff where she goes, Kiana, really?
Something, can I tell you, the mother of two boys, even at the days where my boys do stupid things, I still love the shit out of them. I promise you, I still love them so much. Even on the worst days when I do want to throw them or myself out the window, I promise you that I would throw them out the window with love, though. It would be with love, So I promise you with all my heart, your mom is looking at you, even when you do stupid things. She's probably just going, God damn it, Kiki.
And I'll share with you and, well, everyone listening.
I'm like, this is recording, so right?
Like, do you really want to do that? Yeah, I do, because I want to show the humanness and the human side of therapy and grief, and it's like, I am not a foreigner or a stranger to those days either. I've lived it. In my own way, I recognize it. And so it's like, I've had instances in my life where I am just so really angry or upset at my mom for her decision making. I have a therapist hat on, right? And I'm thinking, how in the world could you make those decisions, not recognizing that, she's human too. And so I've had dreams where she'll come and tell me, Kiana, I'm so sorry. Or, Kiana, I didn't mean to hurt you in this way. And I'm like, oh. And it's like when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, Okay, so you do recognize what you just did there. Okay, all right.
Wow. You know, they say when you're sleeping that your soul goes and meets other souls and that you play in this other dimension.
Yeah. And so, yeah. So do I believe in all of that? Yeah. Yeah.
So if a spaceship came down your backyard, would you jump in and go?
Yes.
I know, right? I think that sounds exciting. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. I'm looking at places where they offer like hot air balloon rides and stuff for me to Dee, I work with grief and loss. Nothing fucking scares me. Okay?
Yeah.
It's the souls that scare me more than the day to day.
I know, right, exactly. Kiki, on that note, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. I really do hope, and I know in my heart that this episode is going to help some people out there who are struggling, who are like, oh, I need, I need to stay in there because A, B, C, maybe, or maybe they heard this and said, it's okay for me to take a break here and take care of oneself. Because then you go back in, right? And you're much more powerful and helpful, in the bigger picture. You take care of home base, right?
Oh yeah, we always come first. If we love the loved ones around us, we always have to come first.
And for those clinicians, social workers, therapists, whatever, doctors, whatever it is, or mothers, fathers, they, or even if you're in a relationship and you live with somebody 24/7, take a break. It's okay. Take a break, take care of oneself.
Do your own thing.
Enough or well enough, or, and I have to, remind myself, you're no good or not as good as you would like to be, unless we just start with home base.
Mhm. And one last note that I'll end with, because we spoke so much about souls, I started a teeny tiny practice in which it's called soul psychotherapy, SOULH at the end. And the reason for that H is soul in Farsi is, all about peace and tranquility. And so, feeding two birds with one bite kind of thing.
Yeah.
Soul therapy. So if you want to learn even more about me and all the stuff that I get myself into, soul psychotherapy.
Well, and we're going to have all of your information in show notes. So if somebody might be looking for somebody within California to to do virtual therapy, that you might have some spots open for them. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Or referrals, hopefully. You're going to get a lot of people calling you, girl, or reaching out to you.
I do. I'm not going to go there right now with you. Not today.
Okay, not today. Tomorrow. Kiki, I love you, honey. Love you, Mina.
Love you, mean it.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
You too.